Hello, welcome back. My name is Ari, and today I have something to admit to you. I'm obsessed with Baldur's Gate 3. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I cannot stop playing this game. I cannot stop thinking about this game. And we know everybody is out here romancing these characters. Let's combine the book and video game world. And I'm going to recommend you a book from my shelves that I think you should read based off of who you want to romance in Baldur's Gate 3. Disclaimer, just before people get up in arms about this, because people are opinionated about their romancing options. This is just for fun and based off the books that I physically own. So the books I choose might not fit the characters perfectly. It just fits the characters within what is accessible to me immediately. This is simply for fun and just an excuse to recommend you some books. This video also might contain minor spoilers for not only Baldur's Gate 3 and your romancing options, but the books themselves. Let's start. I've done this roughly in the order that I was introduced to these characters, but there's no particular order here. The first character you might have wanted to romance is Shadowheart. With Shadowheart, you're looking at a woman torn between beliefs. She, as far as she can remember, has been indebted to Shar and Shar's religion, but throughout this adventure, she might come to realize that Selûne is not the horrible monster that she has always been taught. Let's get you a book where some of our main characters has grown up with a certain belief system, and once they're exposed to a new belief system, they realize that maybe their parents' beliefs aren't everything, maybe they're not correct. And I'm going to recommend you Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Next up, Astarion. There's so many books. So many people want to romance Astarion, and there's so many books that fit really, really well with Astarion's personality. But let's say we're gonna go on the base level of things, and you want a tortured vampire. Not emotionally tortured, but like somebody who has physically been tortured for a large portion of their life, and they're a damn vampire. Pick up Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I'm not going to tell you why, but if you know, you know. Next up, we've got Gale. Gale might be interested in you right now, but he is going to find a way to bring up his ex-girlfriend in every single conversation. Every single romanceable moment and every single conversation, he is going to talk about his ex. For Gale's counterpart, I'm looking at a character who might be in a new relationship, but she's still kind of obsessed and still kind of got something for the demon that has cursed her hundreds of years ago. And I'm going to recommend you read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Next up, let's talk Lae'zel. I personally don't know why anybody wants to romance Lae'zel unless you're going for speed, because she will try to get in your pants as soon as humanly possible, but she is like the most grating human being. So let's recommend you a book with the most unlikable female character I've ever read in my entire life, and that is The Red Tree by Caitlin Kiernan. I actually gave this book 5 stars, but man, this is a woman who is hard to like, just like Lae'zel. Next up, let's talk Will. Now, Will is a good guy. He's a good guy, but he's kind of being magically forced to do bad things. We need a book where a good guy is being magically forced to do bad things. Let's do House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. Again, I'm not gonna tell you who this guy is or anything like that, because that's spoilers. Just know what happens. Just know what happens. Next up is Bay, is Karlach. For Karlach, we need a strong woman, like physically strong woman who is 100% a top. She is gonna top you every chance she gets. And for that, Gideon the Ninth, of course Gideon. If you like Karlach, you're gonna like Gideon. You might be confused as hell by this book, but you're gonna like Gideon. Next up Minthara, if you're not playing an evil character, you probably don't know who Minthara is, but she is a potential companion, but only if you're a bad guy. Now, Minthara is very, 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 very much dedicated to the absolute, and she is only interested in getting in your pants if you are as dedicated to the absolute as she is. So for this, we need a character who is down to fuck, but only if you were into the fake god corrupting her brain. Sister Maiden Monster by Lucy Snyder. Be careful going into this one if you decide to read it. Next up is Halsin. And Halsin begs the question, have you ever wanted to bang a bear? If you have, the Bear, the Nightingale. Disclaimer, unlike Baldur's Gate 3, no one actually has sex with a bear in this book. Next up is Jaheira. You can't romance Jaheira in the game. She's not interested in you. It's not you. She's just not interested. But maybe you were interested and you're just not getting returned feelings. For this, we need an old warrior who's returning to battle. It's just somebody who has been fighting their entire life and they're doing it again. For this, I'm gonna recommend Legend by David Gemmell. Next up is Minsk. No one is actually trying to romance Minsk. You are here for the animal companion. You want Minsk for Boo, the miniature giant space hamster. Like, no other reason. So for this, I'm gonna give you a book with a great animal companion and recommend Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. This has my favorite animal companion of all time. Maybe not as good as Boo, but in book form, my favorite animal companion, known as Doomslug. Bonus points, if you really, really like Jaheira and Minsk as characters, they were both characters in Baldur's Gate 1, and there is a novelization of Baldur's Gate 1, the game. So if you want to pick this up, it is by Philip Athens. I don't know if it's still in publication or not. This is a very old copy back from when Baldur's Gate 1 came out in 1999. So you may have to find this used somewhere, but it is a novelization if you just want to read more about Jaheira and Minsk. Next up, Mizora. Now, Mizora is Will's patron. She is a demon and she just weaponizes sexuality. Like, she is not a good person and she wants to have sex with you just to use it against you somehow. For this, we're gonna go with a very evil character in the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. There is no romance in this relationship. It is just the evilest kind of sex. And the final character I'm talking about is the Emperor. Now, I have never so much in my life wanted to own tentacle porn, because if you romance the Emperor, you were into tentacle porn. I will take no notes, but I don't have any tentacle porn. So I had to go with like the weirdest sex scenes I've read. Sister Maiden Monster could work for this as well, but we're gonna go with anything by Jeff Vandermeer, specifically Bored in this case. This is just weird. And, you know, banging an Ithilien involves a lot of tentacles, so you live your best life. While I'm done with characters, there is a final option, and that's that you don't romance anybody. You're just not interested in romance in your video games or romance in your life. And that is entirely acceptable. For this one, let me introduce you to Murderbot from All Systems Red by Martha Wells. Murderbot hates people, doesn't want to be touched, and is a robot. There's no romance or sexual anything going on over here in Murderbot's land. So you're not interested in romance? Maybe check this one out. And that is it. Let me know down in the comments below who you romanced in Baldur's Gate 3 and give me a book you would recommend based off of your interpretation of that character. Thank you for joining me for this little bit of silliness, and I will see you next week. Bye.